Hello everyone, today let's discuss about rationale of endodontic treatment and zones of reaction would be our last topic of discussion. So starting with inflammation, what is inflammation? Inflammation is a local physiologic reaction of the body to noxious stimuli or irritants. The main objective of inflammation is to number 1 remove or destroy the irritant. Number 2, to repair damage to the tissue. So this repair of the tissue depends on the severity of the injury as well as on the host resistance. Symptoms of inflammation. There are 5 symptoms of inflammation: pain, swelling, redness, heat, and disturbance of function. Pain occurs due to the action of cytotoxic agents released from humoral, cellular, and microbial elements on the nerve endings. Swelling is produced by filtration of macromolecules and fluids into the affected tissue. And heat is produced by vasodilatation of the vessels and rushing of blood to the affected tissue. Disturbance of function results from the changes in the tissue. So these are all the changes, and disturbance of function results because of these. Cells of inflammation. In dental pulp and periradicular tissue, inflammation may be either symptomatic or asymptomatic. These two stages can be recognized only at histological level and depends on the type of cells in their lesions. Acute symptomatic inflammation, neutrophils. Asymptomatic chronic inflammation, lymphocytes, plasma cells, monocytes, and macrophages. These are all the 4 cells which are seen in asymptomatic chronic inflammation. Other cells which can be seen in inflammation are eosinophils, basophils, and mast cells. Cytokines. Cytokines are low molecular weight proteins that stimulate or inhibit the number 1 proliferation, number 2 differentiation, number 3 function. Proliferation, differentiation, and function of what? Immune cells. So they either stimulate pro-inflammatory or inhibit anti-inflammatory cytokines. So pro-inflammatory cytokines are tissue necrotizing factor A, interleukin 1, and interleukin 6. And anti-inflammatory cytokines are interleukin 4, interleukin 5, interleukin 10, and interleukin 13. So these cytokines, as we know, they play an important role in modulation of inflammatory response of the immune system. Now coming to sequelae of pulpal inflammation. For this, the pulp is first irritated by physical, chemical, or biological irritant. Hence, inflammatory changes are seen. Now, body's protective mechanism comes into play. We would be discussing about this protective mechanism. So, if this protective mechanism removes the irritants completely, then healing occurs of the pulp. If the irritants still persist, then viscous cycle of inflammation continues. We will be discussing about this viscous cycle of inflammation. Now coming to protective mechanism. Protective mechanism, it is this part. Protective mechanism is helpful in limiting the pressure increased within the affected pulp. So it decreases that pressure. How would it do that? A locally increased pressure in inflamed area will favor net absorption of what? Interstitial fluid. Net absorption of interstitial fluid from the adjacent capillaries in uninflamed tissue. Also, this increased interstitial fluid pressure increases the lymphatic drainage and it lowers the transcapillary hydrostatic pressure difference, and so it opposes the further filtration. It lowers the transcapillary hydrostatic pressure difference and opposes the further filtration. Discontinuity in the endothelium and fenestration of the pulpal capillaries may facilitate exchange mechanisms. Discontinuity of the epithelium, number 1, and fenestration of the pulpal capillaries, number 2, facilitate what? Exchange mechanisms. So the proper functioning of the feedback mechanisms will limit the increased tissue fluid pressure to the affected area by all these mechanisms. So this is the viscous cycle of inflammation that we have seen. Firstly, the pulp is irritated, maybe by dental caries, trauma or operative procedures, hence localized inflammation occurs. As we have already discussed, results in vasodilatation, hence increased total tissue pressure occurs. This results in localized necrosis. That means venous collapse happens. Therefore, reduced blood flow is seen. Hence, the waste products gets accumulated. Now, the progression of inflammation occurs because of this. Hence, a wider zone of inflammation is seen and spread of vascular disturbance is also seen. Now, the generalized necrosis happens. That means necrosis of additional tissue is seen. Also, there would be release of lysosomal enzymes, which would result in excessive collagen destruction. This in turn would result in irreversible pulpitis. So, this is also a sequelae of irreversible pulpitis. Tissue changes. Tissue changes following inflammation are either degenerative or proliferative. Either degenerative or proliferative. So, starting with degenerative changes. Degenerative changes in pulp may be one of the following. That is fibrous, resorptive and calcific. And if still the degeneration continues, then it would result in necrosis. Suppuration. Suppuration means formation of pus. This would result, formation of pus would be a result of liquefaction of dead tissue. So, the requisites which are necessary for suppuration are necrosis of tissue cells, because it would result from the liquefaction of dead tissue. So, the necrosis of the tissue cells, sufficient number of polymorphs which kill the cells, bacterial cells, and digestion of the dead material by proteolytic enzyme. This is something that you need to remember. Proteolytic enzymes. Digestion of dead materials by proteolytic enzyme. This would result to suppuration. This would result in suppuration. That is formation of pus. But if the reaction is not great enough because the irritant is weak, then an exudation consisting chiefly of serum, lymph and fibrin will result. However, dead cells, mainly polymorphs, polymorphonuclear cells, liberate what? Proteolytic enzyme. As we already know, this proteolytic enzyme kill or digest the leukocytes as well as the adjacent dead tissue. This would result in abscess formation. So, when this abscess is devoid of microbes, then it is a sterile abscess. A sterile abscess may result from chemical or physical irritation in the absence of microorganisms. In the absence of microorganisms. Proliferative changes. This is number 2. Tissue changes, as we discussed, following inflammation are either degenerative or proliferative. So these are proliferative changes. This is very interesting. See, proliferative changes are produced by irritants. For sure they are produced by irritants, but those irritants are mild enough to act as stimulants. So, within this same area, a substance may be both an irritant and a stimulant, such as calcium hydroxide. Let's discuss how. See, in the center of the inflammation, it is an irritant. It is a strong irritant which produces degeneration or destruction. In the center, it is an irritant which produces degeneration or destruction. And in the periphery, the irritant may be mild enough to stimulate proliferation. So, in the periphery, it is a stimulant. In the center, it is an irritant. In the center, it produces degeneration, and in the periphery, it stimulates proliferation. Zones of reaction by fish. Fish has described experimental foci of infection in the jaws of pigs by drilling openings in the bone and packing in wool fibers saturated with a broth culture of microbes. So, Jones of fish describes how periradicular tissue reacts to some noxious products and bacteria, etc. So, we have 4 well-defined zones of reaction. One is zone of infection, zone of contamination, zone of irritation, and zone of stimulation. This is the zone of infection. This is the zone of contamination. This green one is the zone of irritation, and this is the zone of stimulation. Predominant cells which are seen in these zones. Number 1, zone of infection, we get to see polymorphonuclear leukocytes. Zone of contamination, round cell infiltrates, and also lymphocytes were prevalent. Zone of irritation, macrophages and osteoclasts are seen, and in zone of stimulation, fibroblasts and osteoblasts are the predominant cells. Number 1, zone of infection. Predominant cells are polymorphonuclear leukocytes. The infection was present in the center of the lesion. Infection is present in this lesion. Microbes were found only in this area. The only microorganisms not disposed of by neutrophils were found in the Haversian canals or in the fissures in the bone matrix made by the burr. Zone of contamination. Predominant cells are round cell infiltrates. Also, lymphocytes were prevalent everywhere. So, fish has observed that cellular destruction is happening here. Not from the bacteria, but from their toxins discharged from the central zone. Because the microorganisms in the root canal are rarely motile and do not move from the root canal to the periradicular tissue. Hence, the cellular destruction is seen not from the bacteria but from their toxins discharged from the central zone. So, these toxins could be tissue breakdown products or exotoxins. It was not established whether these were tissue breakdown products or exotoxins. So, in this zone, bone cells had died and had undergone autolysis, self-death. So the lacunae appeared empty. Zone of irritation. Here the macrophages and osteoclasts are the predominant cells. Fish found evidence of irritation further from the central zone as the toxins became more diluted. The collagen framework was digested by macrophages. Macrophages are phagocytic cells. So, macrophages digest the collagen framework and osteoclasts attack the bone tissue. The histological picture of this zone signifies the body's attempt to initiate repair. Body's attempt to initiate repair. Zone of stimulation. Predominant cells are fibroblasts and osteoclasts. It is this zone. Fish noted that the toxins were mild enough to act as a stimulant. So it is a proliferative change. So in response to this stimulation, the fibroblasts lay down collagen fibers and osteoblasts built new bone in irregular fashion, that is sclerotic bone. Also, these fibroblasts act as a wall of defense around the zone of irritation, also act as a scaffolding on which osteoblasts can build new bone. What is the importance of fish experiment? This experiment helps us to understand the reaction of the periradicular tissue to a pulpless tooth. Also, we get to know that the root canal is the site of infection and microorganisms in the root canal are rarely motile and do not move from the root canal to the periradicular tissue. But however, they can multiply, they in the sense microbes can multiply sufficiently to grow out of the root canals in the periradicular tissue. Around the root is periradicular area. Or the metabolic products of the microbes or the toxic products of the tissue necrosis may be diffused into the periradicular tissue. However, polymorphs destroy microbes as they enter periradicular area. As the microbes overwhelm defense mechanism, periradicular lesions results. We have already discussed about suppuration and abscess. At periphery, toxic products gets diluted and acts as stimulants. We have seen this in the zone of stimulation. Toxic products from the root canal diffuse from the apical foramen and destroy the bone around. The fibroblasts build fibrous tissue. We know this from the zone of stimulation. And osteoblasts form sclerotic bone, that is irregular bone. Now we need to note one thing, that root canals when treated, the reservoirs of bacteria and noxious products gets eliminated. And when they are cleaned and obturated, the destroyed periradicular bone which undergo repair. Whenever the root canal is treated, the bacteria and noxious products are eliminated, they are removed. And when the root canal is cleaned and obturated, the destroyed periradicular bone would undergo repair. Thank you.